right. Well, welcome everybody to the LBX show for June 15th, 2025. And, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I'm super excited. This is obviously running on Father's Day, but I've been spending the last couple of days up in northern Arizona, hanging out with my kids. I have two amazing, wonderful kids that are getting freaking old. So my son just turned 18 and my daughter's going to turn 16 this year. So it's kind of nuts. But anyway, life just keeps moving on. But happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there. And, keep doing what you're doing. So it's awesome. All right. So for we have a great show lined up. We've got, pretty standard thing. We'll kick things off with news you should know. I've actually got quite a bit. I had to trim some stuff down from what I actually was going to talk about. So news you should know. And then open and shut with Kevin Williams. We're going to learn about the latest openings and closings. And, normally I join Kevin for open and shut, and I was stuck at the airport, unfortunately, coming back from San Antonio in my time at Morgan's Wonderland, which we'll touch on just a little bit. And the Wi-Fi was terrible. I couldn't get it on my hotspot on my phone, and the Wi-Fi in the airport was terrible. So, anyway, I ended up dropping off, and I just fell off from the thing, and I just let Kevin just keep going. So he did. So he finished up the segment without me, but it's good, open and shut, looking at all the openings and closings. And, he's a pro, so he was able to handle it just without me. But it is a little bit shorter because I didn't add all my commentary in there. And then we're going to hear from Adam Pratt on Arcade Corner, where he's going to talk about the rebooted Food Fight Frenzy in a cocktail cabinet and some of his nostalgia around cocktail cabinets. And then, also some of the delays for the latest games, etc. And then lastly, we're going to round out the show with a promo pro tip, Chuck DeMonte, and he's going to break down the basics of marketing, basically the why, the what, and the how. So we'll get into it. All right. All that being said, let's dive into some news you should know. All right. Well, first of all, I guess we'll say before I dive into that, there's going to be no LBX show next week. So it'd actually be the first week we haven't done an LBX show since we switched over to this weekly format. And it's because I'm traveling to Eugene for the Northwest Regionals for Regatta. I'm racing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I've got multiple races, multiple heats. And then we got warm-ups on Thursday. So anyway, just given the timing of the week, normally I record this on Friday and, everybody else contributes along the week. Just not going to happen this week. So there's not going to be an LBX show. We'll be back in full on next week or, the week after. But just keep in mind on the June 22nd, there's not going to be an LBX show. So all right. That being said, I've got a chance to check out Morgan's Wonderland with IAPA. And this was on Tuesday in San Antonio, and it is actually their 15th anniversary this year, which is kind of cool. So they've done some really amazing things. But we had they had some speakers in the morning. They had a panel. They had Gordon, who is the founder of it. His daughter is Morgan, who has some neurodiverse things that she's working, dealing with. And this is one of the reasons why he was inspired to, he's inspired to create Morgan's Wonderland. It is a park that is ultra accessible, focused on inclusion as well. So not just accessible for those with disabilities, physical disabilities, but it's inclusive for all sorts of people. And one of the things I really like their tagline is, and I'm going to bring this up here. Their tagline is, I think, there we go. All right. The first theme park where everyone can play. And I really like that. I think that's pretty cool. And, we just have a little video roll. So if you're listening, if you're listening to this, not watching it, you can go and visit morganswonderland.org. They are a nonprofit, and you can check out their park. They've really done a great job. This is not the first time I've been there, but it was nice to be able to walk around and see all the things that they've improved on. They've got a 4D theater from Simex that is, Simex iWorks, that you can actually, two wheelchairs can roll onto it. They can strap the wheelchairs down, and then the wheelchairs still get some degrees of motion, degrees of freedom on that 4D theater as well. So I thought that was a pretty cool addition that they had added since the last time I was there. They also added this thing that you're seeing right there, that little sky ride. It's their first real thrill ride. And they, you can basically, hauled across on a big giant zip line. And again, they've got special harnesses and everything else so that literally anybody with any sort of disability can go on pretty much all of their rides and all of their different attractions. So it is something, it was pretty amazing to see, both we got a chance to walk around when it wasn't open and get a full tour, but then also when it was open and see all the guests interacting and everything else. The staff is amazing there as well. And they have a water park. And that was probably one of the coolest things to see is their water park is also fully inclusive and fully ultra accessible. They have special wheelchairs that, that you can transfer over to, so that that are fully powered, but they're powered with pneumatics, so with air instead of electricity, so that you can actually take them into the water and have the water dump on you from the big bucket overhead and the splash pads. And again, really pretty cool stuff that they've done. And so that's Morgan's Wonderland. Had a great time there with a number of different people. Had a chance to as well. Let's see here. What we got? There's me on they have a train that goes around the whole park, and then this lake, they have a boat that goes around. The boat was definitely our favorite because it was hot. The boat was in the shade, and it was really relaxing. Just riding on this boat, really smooth. It's actually the same boats that go down the San Antonio Riverwalk, and so that was a lot of fun. And it was pretty small. Let me see if I can make this bigger here. Well, it's not that much bigger. All right. Anyway, there's me and Adria with Adria Gibbs. She's a good friend, and we were taking a picture with the Wonder Squad. And the Wonder Squad is also something new since the last time that I was there. I think they just introduced them in the last year or so. And they are, basically their characters. So they've developed, there's images of them all throughout. They're really beginning to infuse these characters into their, into everything. But every single one of them has, I don't know all the names, but the guy in the green that you can see here in the picture, he's blind, and he's not really blind in the thing, but he's blind in the, that is his character. You have, I think this Rocket is the guy in the wheelchair in front. And then you have, I think the one in the pink is, has some crutches on her arms. And then I think the one in the yellow is Morgan. And so that is the Wonder Squad. And then you have Ivy, who is their butterfly on their logo. So that is the Wonder Squad. And again, look, they could have just introduced all these other characters, but they wanted to have characters that are the superheroes that people could connect with and really feel like, hey, that is me. Like, I see me in these Wonder Squad, and I can be super and powerful and wonderful as well. So anyway, great job, Morgan's Wonderland, and keep doing what you're doing. It's pretty cool. All right. That was my trip to San Antonio. Oh, I guess then I caught a fish. So there's me. They have it's kind of cool. You can like fish over this little dock that they have out there, and kids were losing their minds when they would catch a fish, because then also they'd catch it and then they'd toss it in the air and throw it back in. And, they're having lots of fun. The kids had a lot of fun with that. This was at a reception afterwards. And then I got a really great chance to go check out Six Flags Fiesta Texas before they opened. Thank you so much to Robert, the park manager, for me and Sam Rhodes, a friend of mine, and also, key guy at Doff Robotics. And we got a chance to walk around the park before it opened and check it out. Six Flags Fiesta Texas, if you've never been, is by far one of the best, certainly the best Six Flags park that from a theming standpoint and from just overall feel, just feels really nice. They're very well run. And there's me and Sam in front of the Six Flags Fiesta Texas sign. So anyway, that was just a cool little thing to be able to tag on before heading back. So anyway, thanks, Sam, for the opportunity. And thank you, Robert, for taking us around Six Flags Fiesta Texas. All right. So wanted to talk quickly about, we don't need to talk about Buc-ee's, but I fell in love with Buc-ee's. It's my first time ever visiting a Buc-ee's. So anyway, here we go. All right. Want to talk about Meow Wolf coming alive phenomenally. What is it? Phenomenally. There we go. Phenomenally. Got it. They've obviously blended two words together, an anomaly and phenomena together to get phenomenally. Sounds like a Muppets song, phenomenal. Anyway. So June 21st through August 6th is a Meow Wolf. They have this whole thing that they say, is coming alive. And it's a brand new interactive performance layer that they're adding on, and they say running in a continuous loop inside of two of their locations. Their Las Vegas Omega Mart location, and then their Denver Conversion Station locations. And, again, it's running from June 21st to August 9th. And they say that the immersive performance blends live theater, dance, puppetry, and interactive moments into the fabric of the multiverse. So guests are going to encounter a bunch of different experiences throughout the loop. There are otherworldly characters, they say unexpected rituals, moments of intimate magic, and a dizzying crescendo that spills into the luminous parade of massive puppets, strange instruments, and shimmering creatures called flicker worms. The fate of these glowing beings, the flicker worms, which are imagined to migrate across dimensions, depends on the collective play and participation of the guests. Each performance runs for about 90 minutes on a repeating timed loop, and are layered throughout all of Meow Wolf's surreal environments. There's about 15 performers in each location, which is pretty impressive. It includes dancers, puppeteers, and clowns. Scary. Plus a rotating roster of local guest artists that debut each week, so that they want to basically say that no Phenomenally shows are ever the same. Meow Wolf, and they collaborated with a team of national creatives, as well as a bunch of, again, local community artists. You can see the full listing of all the different artists that are going to be at, on the Denver and Las Vegas Phenomenally websites. And, they're actually only select dates. So I know it says June 21st through August 9th, but I guess there's only select dates that they're actually running this, and makes sense, all the live performers. And it will run from 3 to 7 in Denver and from 2 to 6 p.m. in Vegas. And, there's no additional cost, the same cost of the ticket price. So if you're in Denver during this time block, or if you're in Las Vegas during this time block, definitely go and check out Phenomenally. I do love that they're adding in a live component to this. And so, we'll just see where we'll see how this goes. I'm sure this is an experiment, obviously, because they're just doing it in 2 locations, but it is a pretty cool experiment. And I like where they're going with this. I think this adds another layer of repeat visitation that I think Meow Wolf's locations have really struggled with. And I think adding in this, especially if no 2 shows are going to be the same, and if this is something that runs every summer or runs every quarter or twice a year, whatever, and the shows update, then that's an opportunity to really leverage the space that they have and tie into the storyline, and again, just drive that repeat visitation for those that really like that live performance aspect. So great job for those guys over at Meow Wolf for thinking through that. All right. Also, now is the time to start planning, obviously, for Halloween. And, you've got Fun World, so IAPA's, their publication Fun World recently had a great article about what's hot for Halloween attractions coming out. And so you can, if you want to just go to IAPA's website, go to the Fun World section and then look up their Halloween, what's hot for Halloween attractions. This is an article that just came out this week, because this is now the time to start thinking about your Halloween. If you're gonna decorate, if you're gonna do anything for Halloween, like for the fall, these things start in August, right? So people start to run their stuff in August or in September, running through October, to really get a good part of that season before you shift to the holiday season, the Christmas holiday season or whatever. And so, anyway, there's the article speaks about a lot of the larger parks, obviously, and this is, we're talking primarily about location-based entertainment, but there's no reason why a smaller venue can't go and put in some theming, right? So update decorations, bring in some spookiness into your venue, put up some cobwebs, and maybe even have a little scare night, or do some activities around pumpkins and, painting pumpkins. You don't have to do pumpkin carving, but you can do painting pumpkins. And I know a lot of you guys already are doing this stuff, but this is now the time to start thinking through that. You just start planning logistically, everything else, figuring out what you're going to buy, what you need, if you're going to bring in live actors or whatever you're going to do, or you're going to create a haunt situation. Now is the time to start thinking about that. And then about, late July, August, that's the time to start thinking about the holiday season. So this is the time. Definitely go maybe get some inspiration from reading that article. There's a lot of great photos as well there that are included in that article. So, just again, stuff to get you inspired. All right. Last thing we're going to talk about here on News You Should Know is Dave & Buster's. And, I don't have anything bad to say about Dave & Buster's this time, surprisingly. So, well, they had a really we'll talk about that on Sound Off, but they had a really rough, quarterly results. And so we won't talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the cool stuff they're doing here, because again, it's about inspiration. Just, you got to know what they're doing too. If you have a Dave & Buster's around the corner, you got to know they're your competition. So what are they doing? They've got a new leaderboard that they've just introduced. So the Dave & Buster's leaderboard, and it is their first ever nationwide leaderboard. And it's a new tech-powered experience that basically let guests go head-to-head with players across the country for epic prizes and even bigger bragging rights. Yes, we've had leaderboards in the past. Yes, there are certain things like Big Buck Hunter, and I always forget the name of the fucking golf one, but the golf, the ball, Jesus. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna just cursed 7 times right there. All right, but they built in collaboration with leading arcade innovator Play Mechanics. And the new system uses proprietary custom-developed technology to track scores across select games and sync them in both in-store and national leaderboards. So each connected game is obviously is equipped with this technology to track their scores. And then the leaderboards are displayed on in-store large format screens. There are, with 18 locations actually have a Halo marquee display for enhanced experience. And players can view rankings by store location and nationally. They can view them online. And then the summer competition launches with a set of 5 racing games. So it's going to be a racing competition. Hot Wheels Victory Lap. Obviously, they're going to do that one because that's an exclusive game that they've got right now for the summer. NASCAR Pit Stop, Top Gun Maverick, Cruisin' Blast, and Superbikes 3. And game rotations will evolve over time, and they'll expand to include more fan favorites. While they will keep the leaderboard running year-round, they are kicking things off this summer with the Summer Leaderboard Challenge. And it's a limited time competition, again, featuring those racing games, and they say next level prizes. So each month, players at each participating location can battle it out on their games, and the local first place winners for each game will take home exclusive prizes, D&B branded racing jackets and premium display racing helmets. And then they say that's just a warm up. At the end of the summer, the top national players across each game will be crowned. I don't know what crowned means, but the prizes, I guess, get really big. So they're talking, it looks like they're doing VIP trips to official NASCAR races and the chance to take home the actual arcade game you conquered, which is pretty cool. And then even a fucking car. So they're really going all in on this leaderboard. And again, what is this? What is this about? It's about driving repeat visitation, getting people back in the door. If you're the top and then all of a sudden you drop down because somebody beats you, what are you going to do? You're going to come back in and you're going to rank yourself back up, because if you have the opportunity to get the actual arcade game or win a car or go to a NASCAR race or something else, you're going to, and if you're good enough to be at the top of one of these games, you're going to keep coming back in and ranking up, spending more money. And if you're in there playing those games, you're probably buying food and beverage as well. So anyway, I really like what they're doing here. And there's no reason why, we can't figure out how to do this in our own venue. So, all right. Good job, Dave and Buster's. And that wraps up our news you should know. All right. Coming up after the quick break, we'll have Open and Shut with Kevin Williams and a little bit of me. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
Hey, a big hello to the latest Open and Shut. I'm still in London, and you are?
Stuck in an airport. So there we go.
It is what it is. Still quite a lot to go through here, so we will zip straight into the continuing openings and closings that seem to be part of our sector. And so, as always, just pause at the right point if you want to catch all the ones that I'm zipping through. We have another 5 irons golf facility opening up. This is an 8,000 square, so this is more of the conventional size of a facility with its golf bays. Nothing unusual other than shuffleboard being added to the mix. It's interesting to see that they're opening both their mixed venue entertainment sides as well as their conventional sides. And it goes back to what we were saying previously, how many golf lounges we were seeing opening up. Moving on through, and we have an interesting one here, what I would call an exergaming facility in the Netherlands. This is Next Fit, and this uses virtual reality in fitness as well as in active entertainment. The facility also includes some esports elements to it, so a little bit of fitness, a little bit of competition. This is an unusual one. We're going to be touching upon exergaming and how it's risen again from the ashes in the coming sound off. But again, is this the beginning of a trend for people to roll out fitness VR experience facilities rather than the traditional fitness sites? We will have to wait and see.
I don't know about that one. For me, this is, I mean, look, I played Beat Saber on my son's VR, a couple of years ago. I haven't done it in a while. And just by playing Beat Saber, got super sweaty. The thing was hanging off my face. It was like pouring. And like the last thing that I want to do is go and have a heavy cardio workout and wearing a VR goggles. Like, I just don't see the need or why this is even relevant. Exagaming, sure, that, or like exertainment, right? Like we talked about that, but throwing VR goggles on while doing exercise like that, I just do not understand how this is going to be a thing.
Well, there's a number of companies that have banked upon this as a concept. They're building off of the popularity of the fitness apps that you can get on the Meta Quest series of platforms. Again, I agree with you. How this fits into the fitness genre against doing this at home in the sweatiness of your own privacy is going to be a question about the success of these venues. Moving on, and we are now charting the explosion of the Claw venues. Have here Claw City, which has already 4 facilities open. It is both an amusement facility, but predominantly a crane and merch collection facility, and kind of tells us where these sites are going and where they're populating the market. They're going into malls, they're going into retail units, and they're pulling along the amusement market with them. Then we have the racing lounges. So we've gone from the golf simulation lounges now to the Formula One and racing lounges. We have Full Send, which is a new UK operation, actually launched by a well-known F4 racing driver who's put some of his money into this concept to roll out this chain of what I would call race simulation centers. It doesn't be as much of a hospitality environment as well as a race sim environment compared to what we've seen with F1 Arcade. We have then the second approach. We've talked about our friends at Racing Unleashed before, the Swiss-based company. They have a number of facilities out there. They have about 7 chains or 7 venues based upon their chain. They've just opened up under franchise a brand new one in Italy. Again, offering a racing simulation esports environment, but being able to be parachuted into an or existing racing environment. This particular locality is famous for allowing people to hire cars and go for a race. They've now added a simulation component to their mix. Then we have another golf simulator, the Tip Golf, Florida. You would think Florida would be full of these venues, going by the list that we had in the previous Open and Shut. 3,000 square, which is the average size that you see for one of these layouts. Very much heavy on the boutique, the bar, club, lounge, private bay kind of approach. Much more heading towards the clays and the traditional ex-golf approach to what we're seeing with some of the other venues. But again, a mix that some operators feel is profitable in this current market.
Was the Tips on that list? I don't think so, was it? Because there's not a multiple chain.
No, this is the first of their operations. So this is a single site, but from reading the information, it looks like they're going to try and push it as a chain. I don't know what their USP is going to be compared to the competition that they're going to be going up against. Another interesting one here is the hotel and resort entertainment facility market. We've touched upon this before. I float the idea of hotel attainment, but I think that was shot down very hard. But we are looking at resorts returning to the idea of having a dedicated amusement space in their facility. This one's an interesting one. These two are an interesting one as they are profit sharing or revenue sharing operations. Actually, our friends at Player One Amusement have gone in there, deposited the machines, come up with the operation, and then they're working with the Marriott operation towards rolling these out. So we have this first one in Florida, and then we have this second one in California, both part of Marriott hotel chains, both offering a entertainment amusement mix. This last one is also interesting because it, not along with the arcade, it also has its own swing suite simulation, golf simulation component to it. So again, we're seeing the continuing rise of the golf simulation bay alongside the amusement operation. Moving on, we have Palladium. Now, this, we have to be careful here. This isn't the Palladium that you'd be familiar with that we've seen in Canada. This is a new Palladium that is opening up a facility in India. They have a 16,000 square facility. It is a wide mix of amusement, some attractions, some VR, bumper cars, that type of thing, F&B, but again, a continuation of the investment that we're seeing people are putting into the Indian market, very popular at the moment, to open some kind of entertainment site within the space. This one's in Sri Lanka, so this is aiming for Sri Lanka tourist operation, but it is run by an Indian entertainment entrepreneur. And again, another claw facility. We have the continuation of claw machines constantly now being of the market that seems to be populating every empty retail unit. This one in Indiana is part of a chain of 3 facilities. In a retail unit, some amusement, but predominantly crane machines. It is what it is. It is an aspect of our market that we need to keep an eye on, because I think this could, in the next couple of months, represent quite a considerable component of our market. Dealing with the shuts and the sales, and Bolero closed down their Hazard facility in New Jersey. Interesting one that it was a quick close. We didn't get much warning about this. I get the feeling that this is going to be part of a sale, but again, we will know more about that once we get more details. This facility has been there for a couple of years, and it's now being closed down and put up for sale. Then we have the announcement that the quite a well-known park. It's been going for about 23 years. In Greece, there's not that many licenses being given over to amusement parks. Greece, the Greek government there is very tight on entertainment licensing. Tourism is a very important part of their country's economy, and so it is very tightly controlled. The owners of Allure claim that they've been trying to get a new license to reopen the facility, and that they've come across government pushback against giving them the license, and now they've decided that they can't go on any further without this, and so they're going to close down the operation due to the hostility of the local government to their operation. This seems to be a politically motivated brewing fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more swings and arrows being thrown out regarding this one, but we will know more in the coming weeks regarding if this park will reopen or if it's going to stay permanently closed. And again, I mentioned before, but another hospitality entertainment show that is feeling the pain following its bankruptcy. We see another 30 Hooter restaurants close compared to the 40 that were charted when they first announced their financial of their 200 US chain out there. This will have an impact on local economies as these venues close, but also these are now venues that will be looked upon by entrepreneurs as possible competitive socializing entertainment venue opportunities that they can parachute into. Anyway, For the latest information on the sector, I always point you to our 2 newsletters. If you have any questions, you know how to get in contact with me. Anyway, that's it from me. Wishing you a good one.
If you run a location-based entertainment brand and want to attract more visitors, check out Radius. They use real-time location data and customized marketing strategies to help brands like yours stand out. Radius can boost your foot traffic and build a loyal customer base. Plus, they're offering a complimentary local market analysis to show you exactly how they can help you grow. Curious? Visit radius.co and ask about your free market analysis. That's RAYDIUS.co.
All right. Well, next up, we've got, oh my gosh, we've got Arcade Corner with Adam Pratt. Let's roll.
Greetings, everyone, and happy Father's Day to any fathers who are out there. I guess just a coincidence that the podcast ended up on this day. But got your latest arcade news to go over here. There's not a ton to talk about this week. It's after we covered Harry Potter last week. That was definitely the biggest piece of news to come along within the past month or so, I would say. But there are other games out there, and I don't have any pinball to discuss today, although let me correct myself already on that. There is Predator Pinball, which is supposed to be revealed here by Pinball Brothers, and that has quite a story behind it because it was about over 10 years ago where some company or a couple of guys out of, I think it was Michigan, called Skip B Pinball, was trying to they created a Predator Pinball prototype, but against what they claimed that they had a license from Fox. Turned out after about a year of promises and no delivering that they actually did not have any license with Fox on that. And so that whole thing fell apart and kind of poisoned the well as far as crowdfunding goes for pinball machines and kind of arcades in general. But anyways, for what you see on your screen here, this is a game that was unveiled last year at an event called Midwest Gaming Classic. It's Food Fight Frenzy. The cocktail style cabinet was patterned after the old Atari Warlords cabinet, cocktail cabinet, which was released way back in 1980, before my time. And I used to have an Atari Warlords cocktail cabinet. They were very, very rare. And it did terribly at my arcade, but it was one of the most fun classic game experiences that you could come across. But I sold it a few years back just because it's like making 75 cents a week isn't a good business decision, although in some ways I do kind of regret not just taking it home. But anywho, if you are into Atari games, then this will certainly appeal to you. For those who are just listening, again, it's a cocktail style cabinet patterned after that Warlords cocktail cabinet, but larger. This is coming to us from Retro Arcade Remakes. They would be best known so far for their production of the Taito Ice Cold Beer remakes, which have been on sale, I want to say, since 2023. And they've been working on a Zeke's Peak remake as well, which, if you're not familiar with that one, it's the same thing as Taito Ice Cold Beer, just without any alcohol. The theme is instead a mountain climber and such. So that was designed way back, and I think it was either 82 or 83 by Taito for locations that were not arcade bars back in the day. But Ice Cold Beer worked out for bars pretty well. Anyways, Food Fight Frenzy, the software itself was designed by a company called Slackers Inc., and they would be an indie game developer who had previously created an indie arcade title called Galactic Battleground, which is a lot like a multiplayer Galaga with some asteroids elements to it. And Food Fight Frenzy is their first licensed design that I'm aware of, where they did go to Atari and they got a license on this. And Food Fight, if you're not familiar with that one, that was originally created by Atari back in 1983. And that was a poor year to be releasing new games. But that was a game where you control a kid named Charlie Chuck, and you're in a room, a black room with a blue outline, and there's all these holes everywhere that some chefs will pop out of, as well as piles of food. And you, as Charlie Chuck, your goal is to grab the food, use it as a weapon against the chefs who are trying to prevent you from reaching the ice cream cone on the other side of the screen. And sounds weird when you describe the gameplay, but it was a fun game, and it also came in a really nice cabinet that even had the wood cut around the ice cream artwork and such. And so it was one of the more elaborate cabinets of the 80s. Unfortunately, it was after that where, to save on costs, a lot of developers stopped being creative with their designs and just kind of put them more into boxes with quick side art slapped on the side. But Food Fight itself had not gotten a lot of love on the home console circuit. It was available for the Atari 7800 game console, which came out in '86. And it was a fun game there, a good port of it. But other than that, the Atari had pretty much ignored the IP over the years. Although in recent times, with the new owners of Atari trying to bring things back in a better way, they did come up with a new modern 3D Food Fight game. But this Food Fight Frenzy is actually patterned after the 1983 original. Like, graphically, this looks like it could have been released in 1983. The main difference is that it now supports up to 4 players simultaneously, and you're having a food fight battle against each other. And in that sense, it's like Namco's Pac-Man Battle Royale, where, just a competitive game for essentially arcade bars, retro arcades. And they will be looking at producing conversion kits so that you can update this to something else down the road. Now, initially, when Retro Arcade Remakes showed off this cabinet, they were showing it with Atari's Warlords, but as far as I'm aware, that still hasn't been released. I'm guessing they've just decided to hold off on it and focus instead on this Food Fight Frenzy, but it is available now. If you do want to order one, you'd contact indiearcadewave@gmail.com. That's indiearcadewave@gmail.com. So they're not set up with distributors or anything. They're just selling it essentially direct through email, and the first 10 units will be at a slightly lower price. If I'm recalling correctly, it was $5,100, maybe $52. I can't remember for certain, but then might be as high as $55. I don't want to get in trouble there and promise a lower price, and then it might be $5,500. And then, if I'm recalling correctly, after 10 units have sold, then it'll be $5,800. But double check with Joe at Indie Arcade Wave to be absolutely certain about that. Whatever he says, that's the gospel on the pricing, not what I just said. But that's not the only new game news. Now, Kevin Williams, who is a part of the LBX collective here, had recently mentioned to me that both Sega Amusements' Alpha Ops VR Strike and Bandai Namco Amusements' Gold Storm Pirates are now delayed till August. When last I had spoken with both companies, they were saying July, but I haven't been able to get a hold of anybody since then, or since I heard this news from Kevin. Now, as I record this, it was earlier this week that apparently a trade deal has been worked out with China that has much different tariff rates than what had previously been discussed. And it sounds like the market responded relatively well to that, but now things are disrupted with whole other wars going on in the Middle East and such. But all that aside, it looks like things are going to be stabilizing here with China here now, and so again, a lot of these delays have been due to the uncertainty that's been hanging over the air, and that'll take a little bit of time to work out. But assuming that everything's stable at what was in the news or what was reported, soon, then we'll be back to more regular scheduling. But anyways, thanks to the developers of Alpha Ops VR Strike, 3Mind Wave, they're based out of Hong Kong. They sent me a bunch of screenshots and videos of their game, and I was able to post the full game up onto YouTube, onto my channel Arcade Heroes. So if you're interested in seeing footage of it, you can check it out there. But for those watching, these screenshots here are from Alpha Ops VR Strike. Now, how it works, since it's a VR arcade game, is that these particular shots, which are squares, I think this would be a 1-to-1 aspect ratio. They are what's the PC displays on the TVs that the players sit in front of. Now, they sent me some separate media that was captured through the VR headsets, and so there's really 3 feeds. What you see here, which is on the PC screen, and then each individual feed through the VR headset. But this is the first look that we got at stage 3. As far as I know, there's only 3 stages that are coming with this. Perhaps if the game sells really well, then they could add more content down the road, but they're not promising anything like that. Unlike, let's say, with Raw Thrills, where when they released Godzilla Kaiju Wars and King Kong, they were all promising additional chapters at some point in the future. Just they didn't say when. And I think those were also offered for free, except for King Kong 2, which was more of a paid upgrade. But Alpha Ops VR Strike, 3Mind Wave were the guys who created the highly influential hardware idea of fusing the VR headset to the back of a light gun. And that was used in VR Agent, and now most of the VR arcade games that are out there use this design. Now, not everybody does, but it's certainly influential in China, where a lot of these developments come from. And so the Alpha Ops VR Strike uses an evolved version of that design that they originally created. And from what I played at IAPA, so if you did attend IAPA 2024 and visited the Sega Amusements booth, then you should have seen this game. Likewise with Amusement Expo, they had it there. But I felt that the gun design that they came up with was improved over VR Agent, and perhaps that was just due to how are partially the mold of the gun, but also just part of the how it hangs from the top. And so now that that's not coming from an overhead gantry, it makes it better, more comfortable. With only 3 levels too that aren't super long, it also prevents you from getting too tired holding it like that. But also the other thing that I think Alpha Ops has over VR Agent is the one annoyance that I found with VR Agent was that you had to stand, and moving around really fast oftentimes meant that my focus was going out of whack with the gun, because since you have to keep the VR headset pretty centered. With Alpha Ops VR Strike, where you sit down the entire time, that made it a lot easier to manage, and I wasn't coming across that same sort of problem. But again, this July or August, around there, you can order it now from your preferred distributor through Sega Amusements. And I don't know what the price is on that one, but of course you can ask your distributor that one. That's the arcade news for this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks, Adam, for that. And yeah, man, I would love to have a cocktail cabinet. We've got a perfect little spot here in the office. I could drop it in there. But yeah, one of those cocktail game cabinets. And the Food Fight Frenzy would be a great one. I mean, obviously, I love a Miss Pac-Man, but I'd take Food Fight Frenzy. I'd take anything. Give me if anybody's looking for for a Father's Day gift, cocktail cabinet. There we go. All right. Next up, we've got Chuck DeMonte with Promo Pro Tips. Let's roll into it.
Hello, welcome to Promo Pro Tips with Chuck DeMonte. That is me. And today I want to discuss something that's been coming up a lot in conversations I've been having with FEC owners. And that is really just doing the basics of marketing, the why, the what, and the how. Okay. So I cannot tell you how many people I've been speaking to lately, and they're not doing as good as they would like to do. And I ask them, what are you doing for marketing? And it's like, really nothing. And they give me all these excuses as to why they're not doing them. And I tried this and that didn't work. And I did this and emails and people don't open them. And it's like, it's so mind blowing to me that, you're not doing it. Marketing can range from the basic to the very complex without a doubt. Right. But as a local business, any local business, in particular, family entertainment centers, there are a lot of basic things that you could and should be doing, or your business will probably not succeed, right? And so I want to cover some of those things, right? So, why do the basics? I honestly don't care what you're doing in life. If you are consistent, if you want to succeed at something and you are consistent day in and day out and doing it over and over and over and over again, you will increase the likelihood of success multiple times over. Undoubtedly, right? And any successful business owner or anybody that's had any sort of success in something in their life knows that, right? It takes practice. It takes doing things over and over and over and over and over again, right? And if you're like, that's not for me and I don't want to do that, and then you shouldn't own a business, or you shouldn't, be running the business, or an operator or a GM or whatever, right? So pick something else. Let's assume you're happy with what you do. You want to own the business. You need to be doing marketing basics, right? And even if you don't think they're working, I in one of my other segments for this, I told people to stop worrying so much about ROI. You cannot associate ROI with every single marketing thing you do. It just does not work. You're doing, let's say, making posts on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. How do you know who saw that, who then came into your location? You don't, right? So you cannot attach ROI to every single thing. But I'm telling you, and I said in that video too, doing something is better than doing nothing. And doing something consistently, right, is super important, okay? So that is the why. Sending out emails, posting content every day, or 5 times a week, and sending out emails a few times a month, and, potentially running Facebook ads or Google ads, even if you don't know how to run them that well, right? I promise you it's better than nothing. Okay. So that is the why. Why should you do this? Because you need to get in front of people. You need to create local awareness. It is the most important thing, right? If people don't know about you, how are they going to do business with you, right? And so again, while you might not understand the ROI or think it's not getting in front of people, I promise you it's getting in front of people. So keep on doing it. So what would I do if I had to choose some strategies, right, that would help me out the most, okay? I would do, first and foremost, either Meta or TikTok awareness ads, okay? It is the easiest and least complicated ads to run on social media channels. So typically on Meta or TikTok, you're primarily going to, choose an objective is how you run these ads. You're going to say, I want more link clicks. I want more video views. I want more reach, which would be awareness, right? I want more conversions. Okay. All those can get a little bit more complex, especially the conversion ones. You got to implement conversion tracking and do all those things, right? If you're doing awareness ads, it is the simplest form of ads. You're just saying, here's an asset, here's a video, here's an image, put it in front of as many people as possible in this target, in these zip codes, in this, 10-mile radius, right? It doesn't get any easier than that. And you could spend $200-$300 a month and get in front of a ton of people, tens of thousands, right? For that much money. And you go, how do I know if I'm spending it? Where can you, how do you know if it's working? Where can you spend $300 to get that much of your brand name in front of people? And I promise you that you need to stay top of mind, right? So first and foremost, I'd be doing, some sort of paid social awareness ads, right? You can keep them at a low budget if you'd like, right? And don't get worried about the ROI. You need to get your name out in front of people, okay? Next, I would make sure I was doing email marketing, okay? Now, again, this helps with repeat clients. It helps with, even getting potential new clients if you're doing, ways to get, people's data in there, right? And, some of you don't have waivers or ways to collect people's information. Try and do whatever you can to get people's email and phone number, okay? So you can contact them. So, be doing email marketing. It's super important, okay? So you have paid social, you have email marketing, right? Staying in front of people. Send 1-2 emails a month. They could be the easiest emails. Just, here's what's happening in our location. Here's a promo we're doing. If people don't use the promo, who cares? You got in front of them. If they delete the email, who cares? Your brand name is in front of them. When they are ready to purchase, they will think of you. When they are ready to do something with their family or their friends, they will think of you, okay? You need to stay in front of them. This will, over time, it's a snowball, right? More and more people will know about you, and more, and Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So you're not going to be building this massive FEC empire in a day. So over time, building up the audience, building up your followers, all that other stuff. Okay. And then the last thing I would be doing is content marketing, right? Posting on TikTok, posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram. It's so easy, right? Go in and snap some pictures. Have a employee snap some pictures, whatever. Okay. And just get them posted. They don't need to be this unbelievable, amazing content, right? It gets out in front of people. People will start following you. It's like, just consistency over and over and over again. Now, you can get creative as you want in these strategies, right? And so if you're not doing much, it's like, here's where you could start. Now, obviously, you can get very complex into email automations and conversions and all that other stuff. And I do think you should be there undoubtedly for if you want to have, really big success. Those are the types of strategies you should be running, right? But you do not need to be doing them right away. You need to be doing something, right? And those are the things I would suggest that you do. But again, doing something is better than nothing. And those are 3 easy strategies that if you're not doing them, it's honestly, it's crazy that if you're not doing those 3 basic things. And, I do think eventually in the long run, you're going to have a tough time having a successful business. How are people going to know about you? How are you going to remind them to come in? So, again, why you need to be doing marketing, even if you can't attach an ROI to it, people need to know about you. What, paid social awareness, email content. Okay. And then how, right? You could get, email marketing. You create a MailChimp account, right? If you don't have a CRM or POS, MailChimp, Constant Contact, they're super easy, right? They're drag and drop. Okay. It's you have an image and it's just so easy nowadays. All the tools that are out there, ChatGPT, Canva to create images. It's so unbelievably easy to create an email. Okay. Content marketing, the same thing. Use Canva, go in and snap photos, right? We use a tool called Plannable, which schedules into these different platforms. It's about $20 a month, maybe. Schedules all the platforms to go out. It would take you, I don't know, all of 2 hours to go around your park, snap some photos, and upload them. Okay. Again, it's these things aren't too time consuming. Okay. You obviously can get into complexity, like I said, and they could be a little more time consuming, but let's just talk about the basics. So that's, how to do email. That's how to do content, right? You have a phone, take pictures, upload them. You could also upload them directly to, if you're doing, Meta, Instagram, and Facebook, you could Meta Business, you could schedule them through there as well. Okay. But with that tool Plannable, you could schedule on multiple different platforms. Okay. And then lastly, ads, Meta ads, Google it on, pull up a YouTube video. How do I create a Meta ads account, ads manager? You basically get in the ads manager. You're going to have a video again or something that you took at your location, put it in there, write a caption. Here's my daily budget. Here's the location, right? Run the ad. So it's really, really easy. Those things are strategy are not rocket science by any means, but they will help if you do them consistently day in and day out. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Start doing some marketing.
Intercart is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercart increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercart is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon. All right, everybody. That is that is a wrap for today's show. Just give you a quick updates. We got Sound Off number 78 with Kevin Williams on Tuesday, June 17th. I am also still in the airport for that one, but it was a better Wi-Fi. It was a little bit better situation there, so I didn't drop off. So I was able to really have a good, engaging discussion with him on Sound Off. And also, if you subscribe to our newsletter, so if you get those every week, well, it's not quite every week, it's like kind of every other week, or you get the Stinger Report, then you're definitely going to get our latest 2-part virtual arena that Kevin Williams has recently written. Those are going to be coming out next week as well. So definitely, if you want those, really discusses and dives into virtual reality, augmented reality, XR, mixed reality, etc., and the latest trends that are happening there. If you want to get some of that information, then definitely make sure to go to our website, lbxcollective.com, and subscribe. And you'll be able to get all those publications. All right, so that's a wrap for this week's LBX show. This is Brandon Wiley signing off. Stay tuned and keep kicking ass.